when in the middle of the night you look around and I mean, everybody's sweating and running around and there's, fire and smoke and all kinds of stuff going around. And it's, everything's kind of getting messy and it's just like hectic. But then at the end of the night, it's all wiped down. It's all clean. It's all like sterile again. And it's like completely reset.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. It's like, do it again tomorrow.
Thank you for tuning in to the Austin All Day Podcast. I am Jason Powers, and joining me here is Q from SouthBites. If this is your first time here, welcome. We release a podcast every week highlighting the wonderful folks in our culinary community here in Austin, Texas. Thank you to Ranch Rider Spirits for sponsoring this podcast, and let's please take a moment to hear from Ben's friends.
Hey y'all, this is Philip Spear, pastry chef and owner of Commodore Restaurant in Austin, where we are the Austin's chapter of Ben's Friends. Ben's Friends is a coalition of sober food and beverage people committed to their sobriety in an industry filled with drugs, alcohol, and stress. Each of us has found or is seeking sobriety and a way to deal with our careers and life in a sane and purposeful fashion. We're here to share together how we do it and provide those seeking sobriety with the tools and the community needed to find it. Our only purpose is to help each other find freedom from the bondage of our addiction. Ben's Friends Austin meets at Commodore at 11 a.m. every Monday.
All right. If you haven't already, go follow the podcast on Instagram. Sit back, grab a cold brew, and check it out. So, Q, welcome.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. You said you had a busy day?
I did. Lots of running around, setting up our new prep area at the coffee shop.
And this is SouthBites.
This is SouthBites Coffee Shop. We're in the new South by Southwest Center, the new South by building. It's on 14th and Lavaca. Coffee shop is in the lobby, and we serve pastries, tacos, sandwiches, salads, all kinds of good food, but then a huge, robust coffee program. Drip, espresso, cold brew nitro, pour overs, got some great teas, and then tons of like bottled options,
nice.
Yerba mate, kombucha, very Austin vibe.
How new's the operation?
So we opened in summer of last year, June 3rd, I believe. And it's been great. A little bit slow in the beginning just because the building wasn't quite full, but we're getting the word's getting out.
Yeah.
People from around the neighborhood are just loving it. The fact that there's another, option for lunch, breakfast and lunch in that area, because it's really pretty sparse.
Sure. And the coffee, what coffee are you guys carrying in there?
We started off with cuvee, kind of all over the place,
choice,
which is just, I just went local, guys that I know. But then from there, I hired my GM, and she's a great barista out of New Orleans.
Okay.
She's a native Texan, but she was working in New Orleans for the last 10 years in coffee shops. And so we hired her, brought her back, come to run the coffee shop. Her name is Denise Caballero. She's great. And she was like, cool. Like one roaster is great, but why don't we do a bunch? She's like, there's a bunch of roasters in Austin. I was like, yeah. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm not the biggest coffee nerd, but I love it. But you do your thing. I was like, I'm here to facilitate this being a successful place, and I want you to do your thing.
Sure. And she's so it's coffee centric.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So SouthBites coffee centric, but food. You mentioned before we started, it's kind of
So the food program is really taking off. Again, I think the coffee's it's very convenient. People appreciate it and they love it. But I think that as the lunch kind of grew, that area, 14th and Lavaca, 15th and Lavaca, there's not really a whole lot. There's Texas Chili Parlor across the street. But in terms of like a light, refreshing kind of option, there's not. So we really just kind of fit in and clicked in the neighborhood. And now we have people coming from, the Capitol building. There's tons of like administrative buildings around there, Texas Attorney General's office. Everybody just comes in. They're just like, oh my God, thank you for being here. Like,
right.
This is like a food desert and you guys are the oasis. And we're like, Cool. Well, we're
Right.
here to help you.
Well, especially for walking distance in that area, right?
Oh, for sure. And it's
Because there's
beautiful.
stuff in the area, but not if you just stroll out for lunch like these folks are
Right,
doing.
exactly. Well, and especially for the building, right? So anybody in the building, it's just super convenient for them to just come on down. But again, we get a lot of clientele from the other offices.
Right. And who can we thank about the food? Chef over there is...
Pretty well. So it started off. I've been working with my partner Brent Schumacher over at Pink Avocado Catering.
All right.
And so it was his idea. He kind of brought me in on this project and said, "Hey, I want you to help me open this place." And I was like, "You got it, man." And I was like, "We've been good friends for over 15 years." So
Pink Avocado is Chef Brent's, yes?
yes, absolutely.
Okay.
He started that in 2008, and he said, originally he said, "I need an ops guy. I need a guy who knows how to do restaurant ops."
That would be
me.
You got the man.
Yeah. But then it very quickly evolved to, their day-to-day business, their catering business is pretty substantial. So for them to...
for Pink Avocado.
For Pink Avocado, for them to also then be supplying us with food on a regular basis was a little bit tricky. So I brought in a couple of some cooks that I've worked with in the past and basically kind of took over the food program, and really just now we're really kind of got a solid lineup. I'm doing most of the food development, but then also working with every other aspect of the restaurant or of the cafe as well. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah,
So the Pink Avocado, they're like part owners in this? Are they have anything to do with it?
right, yeah, definitely. So we're a little bit of a different. We're a carve out so SouthBites is its own standalone company.
Okay.
But very much, we work out of their commissary kitchen. We do a lot of kind of intercompany trades in terms of like they'll buy a product for us and then we'll cook it and then we'll sell it and have to like divvy that up.
Okay.
Kind of technical
Sure.
stuff, but
Sure. But Pink Avocado is the type of catering place that like people see fluctuations, but they're always pretty steady, right?
oh yeah, they're so well established in the city. I think at
That's
this point,
excellent.
yeah. I mean, they're known for they're like the custom kind of high end caterer that for like really nice weddings, corporate events, those kinds of things. But they will do one off stuff. They do lots of smaller weddings. I actually got married at the Palm Door, which is their event space.
Nice.
So yeah.
Very cool. Well, here, before we continue, let's take a second and hear from our sponsors.
Yes.
Got the Ranch Rider Spirits, and we both have the Ranch Water.
Yes.
Did you try it?
I haven't tried it yet. Here we go.
People already know how I feel.
Yeah, no, this is good. I like it. It's pretty straightforward. There's not a whole lot of it's not a whole overly sweet, which
No.
that's what I can't stand.
Yeah.
A super sweet, like the other the white cans that are popular right now.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of. Let's leave it at that.
No, those are very popular right now. But the guys are totally local. And yeah, that's the focus. It's all natural. There's 119 calories. There's no sugar added in here.
Cool.
You've heard of them, yes?
I have. Who is it?
So Ranch Hand was started as a UT project, and it was a trailer. Now they're stationed out of Native Hostels on 4th Street.
Oh, cool.
And that's, again, it's like all natural and like a healthier option for lunch and dinner. And now this is their plans to kind of expand their brand. And they're canning them right towards Dripping Springs.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, George is out there. I'm going to go visit him. But yeah, that's them.
It's cool. I love Native. Native's a super fun place to go.
Yeah,
Good food, good drinks, good vibes.
Absolutely. I'm sure they'll have these in there. I hope so. So yes, there you go.
Cool. Yeah, it's tasty.
So you yourself, you've been in Austin for how long?
I've actually been in Austin the majority of my life. Grew up, I was born in Albuquerque, but came to Austin right after I was born. We moved down here, and I stayed till about 3rd grade.
I mean, I'm sure that was folks kind of
Oh
thing.
yeah, of course, right? Yeah, no,
Visit.
I just drove down.
Yeah. In the carriage.
Right. No, my mom moved us down here. We stayed until I was about 3rd grade. Then I went to San Antonio. Grew up there, kind of my formative years, elementary, middle school, and high school. But my mom was a Longhorn graduate.
Okay.
And so when I was going to apply for colleges, UT was at the top of my list. I got a scholarship, and came back, and I have not left Austin since then. Like, I love Austin's great. I've always kind of knew I wanted to come back.
What did you study?
Sociology. I have
Sociology.
I have a bachelor's in sociology with a minor in history.
So I got to ask, with that background, where did the culinary arts come into play?
I think the culinary side just comes from my mother's parents. They grew up in South Texas,
All right.
on the border, but they had a grocery store back in the day. And my grandfather, who's my namesake, Quirino, he was a butcher. So they did in the grocery, they did all kinds of, meat cuts and stuff, but they would also do prepared foods. So kind of barbacoa, birria, menudo, all kinds of like very traditional South Texas dishes. And so, although I didn't grow up in that environment, it affected my family like forever. So all my uncles, my mom, my aunts, every weekend, any family gathering, that was like we were cooking. Like, everybody was cooking. And it was like, and the kind of the center of focus was always like everybody was outside, sitting around watching the food cook, and it was just that kind of sense of family and togetherness is what's always kind of like drawn me to the culinary scene.
Yeah, yeah.
And so even before I graduated from UT, I started working in the business, bussing tables, washing dishes, doing whatever I could do.
Probably at that point to make ends meet, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, I just knew that I wanted to cook. I didn't know exactly like where that was going to lead me. It feels like, am I just going to do this during college for some extra money?
Yeah.
But basically, by the time I graduated, I'd already become a kitchen manager at the county line.
Wow.
And I was like, I like this. I really enjoyed it. I like the pace. I like the excitement of being in a busy kitchen. The smells, the sounds, the the people,
the bustle.
Yeah,
Is your grandfather? He's still around?
No, unfortunately not. No, I actually never even got to meet him.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he passed before I was born, but
Well, he sparked it, huh?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Cool.
My grandmother, and I heard stories my whole life, and
my grandfather's he was also a butcher.
Oh, it's awesome.
And he's still around, and he now, that he knows that I'm into the culinary arts. He's told me stories about all kinds of things. When he used to be a meat cutter and see with the time when they started like adding preservatives.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, because it used to change, and he was like, and then one day it was pink. So very interesting. But that's cool that he got that. His knives are right in there, actually.
That's a funny thing you say that, because my mom still has a bunch of my grandfather's knives, and I see them, and they're just like, these old pieces of steel that are like curved and have these like, grooves.
Wonky.
Yeah. But I mean, they're super sharp.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so impressive. I'm just like, these are the coolest knives ever. And my uncle has one of his cutting boards or cutting block, like butcher's blocks.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it has this deep groove in it, but it's perfectly sanded, smooth, but it's just like, years and years of being used. It's so cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So your grandfather planted the roots, and you took his name as well. So that's very, very cool. So the county line is the first gig in the kind of the Austin food scene.
It is. It's actually not my first restaurant job. My first restaurant job was after my freshman year at UT. I went back to San Antonio. I didn't stay in town in Austin for the summer because my mom was still living there. I went back and I got a job at this restaurant called La Margarita. It's in downtown in the Market Square, San Antonio. It's actually owned by the same family that owns Mi Tierra, which is like a really well-known San Antonio Mexican restaurant.
Okay.
And so I started off in their sister restaurant, which was right next door, for that summer. Nothing too crazy, just bussing tables. Although, well, I say nothing crazy. I mean, the working there was crazy because the people that were there were just kind of, it was my first introduction into like the back of the house, kind of crazy kitchen scene of people,
Did you take to it right away?
Oh, I mean, I think I enjoyed, again, like the bustle of it. I didn't really like hang out with anybody too much. But I really just enjoyed like, how busy it got, how like, frenetic it would be. And then at the end of the night, you're just like, cool, like we're done. We just did a lot of stuff. And
accomplished, right?
Yeah. I mean, and I think one of the things, and I've always told this to all my staff and employees that I've had, it's like, I love when in the middle of the night you look around and I mean, everybody's sweating and running around and there's, fire and smoke and all kinds of stuff going around. And it's, everything's kind of getting messy and it's just like hectic. But then at the end of the night, it's all wiped down. It's all clean. It's all like sterile again. And it's like completely reset.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that is the coolest thing ever. Yeah. It's like, do it again tomorrow.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I similar. I enjoy a kitchen like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
Before anything started.
So peaceful.
Yeah, it's a special place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So the back of the house, though, you weren't really hanging out with anybody, but you knew.
Yeah, I think
Did you know? You
I
said
mean,
you
I feel
didn't
like
know, but
I think I was like, this is fun. I was like, okay. I was like, well, when I go back to Austin, I'll probably try to look for a job and figure out what I'm going to do. And I was living in the dorms, and a guy across the hall from me, my friend Ryan, he was like, oh, I work at a restaurant, a barbecue restaurant. I was like, oh, I love barbecue.
okay,
And
county
he was
line.
like, yeah, County Line. And he was like, it was funny because I'd never heard of it, but they'd already been around for 20 years.
Still going strong.
Still going strong, 45 years later. Wow. But I just said, yeah, sure, man. I was like, I need a job. He's like, okay, well, I was like, I really want to cook if that's possible. He's like, well, I can get you, a busboy job. I know we're looking for somebody right now.
Right.
So he brought me in.
Got to earn your way up. Though,
Oh yeah,
right?
And that's what I appreciate that. Any group that that kind of promotes from within, that's definitely my philosophy, and I've gotten it. I got it from those guys.
Okay.
I think it really, you build up that that trust and that relationship with that person, and there's a lot of buy-in from the very get-go when they see that they have an opportunity to grow with the group, with the company. So,
oh yeah, and then the level of respect compared to bringing in whatever an executive chef from the outside who's never stepped foot in the kitchen, but they're qualified, as opposed to the executive chef that started out in the dish pit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think anybody. I mean, there's no way to really replicate. Even though I think anybody at that level, if you're coming in as executive chef, I'm sure you've paid your dues.
Sure, yeah.
But it's for the rest of your team, your staff, it's hard for them to really understand and connect with you. And you get there eventually. I think when you put in some time and they're like, oh, this guy's for real. Like he knows what's up.
Little hazing period, maybe.
Just to kind of side eye.
Yes.
Here and there, but until you prove yourself, and then once you're in, you're in.
Yes.
Usually.
And if you don't, you're on your way out.
Exactly. Yeah, you're like, not working out.
Yeah, it happens for a reason.
Absolutely.
So the county line is really your first introduction into, working your way up a ladder, and it sounds like you take that kind of motto or the way they do that
Absolutely
into your career.
Yeah. No, I mean,
and you've led quite the career. Yes.
Oh yeah. That was 97 when I started working there.
How long did you stick it out with the county line?
I was at that location until 2007.
And how far up the ladder did you get there?
So from there, I started as a busboy. I basically worked all of the back of the house jobs, which are about 6 or 7 different, cook positions. There's like prep and then, line.
Salad. Is there salad there?
No, we don't do salads. There was like the positions were called like, float and setup and backup. It was kind of like these weird,
they made sense though.
Yeah, it's not like the French, brigade style, but
sure.
But it all worked out. I figured out, basically I was smoking meat. I was making potato salad, making coleslaw.
What'd you think of that? You still do stuff like that today?
Oh my God, I love to. Yeah.
Did that come from that?
I mean,
always
the know-how came from that, but I think I love cooking out. I still to this day, like every Sunday, I try to cook out in the backyard.
Now, do you do that like overnight? Do you go all in like that?
Sometimes. I mean, if I'm doing a brisket,
you have like an egg or something.
No, I have a waiver, so it's like
okay.
I'm doing my best to get some good smoke on it, but it takes time, and you got to play with it a little bit. But
yeah, that's an art, right?
Yeah, for sure. So, basically I was kitchen manager there. After I made that position, I ended up staying there for another 8.5 years as kitchen manager.
That's a good stretch.
Yeah. It was a good time. I learned a lot. A lot about management, leadership.
Yes. And those are chops that you still continue to use today. But it's important to note that time Austin was like a completely different beast, right?
Oh man, it's crazy. That was actually so I worked at the county line on the lake, which is on 2222, and that was considered like,
the busy place.
Well, busy place for sure on the weekends, but definitely also was like, because it was a place to go. It was a destination restaurant versus.
It's still in a way because it's in such a unique spot, right?
It is, but I think that was like far out. That was like you're like on the edge of town basically. Now it's like no, it keeps going.
Yeah.
So
it definitely keeps going. Yeah. So, but 8.5 years. Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, again, I learned that, high volume, high pace, high energy
Right.
restaurant. In that time while I was doing that, I was a kitchen manager at night, running that full time. And then I started doing other stuff in terms of bartending at lunch, waiting tables. At some point, I can't remember exactly how far into it was, but I basically was like, no, I need to learn everything about this business. Started, doing the front of the house stuff. Right before I left, I was actually like on the floor as the front of the house manager.
Okay. I mean, that's interesting not everybody wants to like broaden their horizons, right?
Right.
Some guys want to do the back of the house thing, and
I just, again, I was very curious. Even as a kitchen manager, I was already like, we would have our meetings with the front of the house managers and the general manager, and I always had an opinion on stuff. But it's not having been in those positions, it was kind of like hard to really explain myself or really have a full picture of what it was that I was trying to get across.
Sure. And how do you ask someone to do something when you don't know really what you're asking?
Exactly. So I said, you know what, let me just, before I, shoot my mouth off, let me just get in there and see what I can do and what I can learn. But it was interesting because shortly thereafter, in 2006, we found out the owners of County Line were curious about doing some other concepts. And so they had a couple different ideas. Ended up partnering with a guy named Bob Hauser, who's a good friend of mine now. And he had this concept for an Italian restaurant, Italian gourmet buffet restaurant. And that ended up translating into Cannoli Joe's.
Okay.
Which I was then offered a position as kitchen manager there.
I believe I've heard of that. It's very like over the top, right? Market kind of style.
Oh yeah, yeah, very cool. It was like every single station, every food station was, dressed up as a shop front. You could see there was an open kitchen, so you would see the cooks behind, making pizza, making salads, making pasta, making desserts.
Maybe little Mandolas-ish now, because we don't have it anymore, right?
Right. No. Yeah, we closed down in 2013, but I would say,
I guess different. But
Mandola's is kind of more of like a market. This was like a village. That's what we actually called it. The area where people would walk through was called the Villaggio, and it was like you're walking through a little Italian town, and it's like, oh, there's the baker. There's the pasta guy. There's whatever.
That's kind of cool.
It was super fun. It was a great experience.
And all fresh, like the fresh pasta.
Yeah, yeah. No, we were making everything from scratch.
I'm surprised. I don't. Why? Why did they close down?
I think the location was kind of tough.
Okay.
We're at Brody and right by the
stadium there.
Right by the stadium. Yeah.
Yeah. It's now the Funkadelic and St. Philip's was set up there.
Exactly.
That's where it is. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting spot because you can only access it going one direction.
Exactly. And I think that was like our Achilles heels because I remember so many times being on the phone trying to guide somebody in and direct them to how to get there.
Right, go to the roundabout.
Go to the roundabout, make that turnaround, and then
miss it and do it again.
Exactly. And off the second time that they miss it, they're just like, you know what? We're going to go somewhere else. And I was like, oh my gosh. I think that was that was kind of the nail in the coffin. It was just like, it was so hard. Plus the other thing, back then, we were that entire complex.
Wow, that's what I was going to ask.
It was a 12,000 square foot restaurant. Wow. I mean, it was big. Lots of seating.
That's intense because right now we have Funkadelic. Next door is like a coffee shop,
Stout House,
and then
Canny Rosso.
Okay, and that's
those are the three. Those are three
there's
restaurants.
Like an ice cream thing now or something.
I think and then I think that now there's also an ice cream, and then there's also two other. I think one of them's like a milk and honey. And then some other like furniture store. There's basically like six places.
That's huge for one restaurant.
And it was one. And oh my gosh, on the holidays, we were open on Christmas. We were open on Thanksgiving. We were open on Easter, Mother's Day, and those days were insane.
Yeah.
The amount of people we would do. Our first Mother's Day open, we did 2,100 people.
Wow.
And I mean, my head was like spinning trying to prep all this food, but we had huge walk-ins, huge prep space. And a great team. I mean, that was the other thing. Probably what I took away most from that experience, I mean, aside from learning a lot of like more ops stuff, was really just like, what a great team and great family. We like became so tight.
You keep up with some of them, I'm
absolutely.
sure.
Yeah. And I've hired some. I brought some into my other concepts that I've worked on, and there's some of them that are still there. There's definitely people that I talk to on like a daily basis.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Was that, you mentioned like a few other concepts. Was it just that one that they got going, or did they have other things up their sleeve?
Well, so that was the main one that they first decided to do.
Sorry, before you answer that, where were you at the company at that point when you went to open that?
So I was a kitchen manager.
Then you went to go open the Cannoli Joe.
And then I went to Quirino Joe's as the kitchen manager.
Okay.
Which is funny because I didn't know a whole lot about Italian cooking.
Yeah.
But the chef, Bob Hauser, really kind of took me under his wing and just taught me. Like, I never went to culinary school, so he's the one that.
And it's
really,
only been barbecue up until this point.
Right. I mean, and Mexican food, which I grew up with, which I knew how to
Sure.
cook because my mom and my grandma would teach me. But yeah, beyond that, I didn't have that kind of classical training. And so he was a CIA trained chef. We went to Hyde Park, CIA. Guy is awesome. He is an awesome guy. And he taught me tons about sauces and, just anything and everything culinary wise, different cooking techniques, and really just kind of broadened my my horizons.
Very cool. Now, in retrospect, what do you think about culinary school as opposed to the path you took?
I think it depends on the person.
How about your own personal experience?
My own personal experience. So I've definitely had staff that were culinary kids, right out of culinary school. I've a couple of them really get it, and they're like they really love it. I probably would say maybe a good 75% of them, that didn't make it in the industry. They just.
I think also CIA and maybe like different schools would, harbor different folks.
Prepare them in a different way, I think. In that time, early 2000s or kind of late 2000s, I think that there was it was kind of like the beginning of this like celebrity chef kind of phase.
Yes.
And so we had a lot of people.
The beginning of the end.
Yeah.
That's what we call it. No.
A lot of kids were going in there and they thought, oh, I'm going to be, on Food Network or I'm going to be on whatever. This is before even Chopped and Top Chef. But I think that they...
And then you throw them in the dish pit?
Well, or even just on the line and be like, okay, we'll make, 300 plates of whatever. And I mean, that's just like, that's the one thing I feel like culinary school at that time, I don't know how it's doing now, but really didn't prepare them for that. I mean, the speed.
I don't know that culinary school ever. I think it's that hands-on experience that gives you that.
Yeah,
I think have all the knowledge in the world, but to get thrown 300 tickets in an evening.
Well, and I think also they thought that the piece of paper that they had with them was like going to give them some kind of cred.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, you might be able to make a really pretty tomato rose or whatever. But Jose next to you will whip out 500 dishes and not even break a sweat.
There's always a Jose who can do that.
Oh yeah, and it's they're just, and I think that kind of shocked them. And they're just like, what? Or the first time I saw one of my culinary kids get burned, they're just like, oh my god, I have to go home. Like, yeah, no, just wrap it up. Let's keep going. Like we're fine. Like you're fine. You're gonna be okay.
Oh yeah, I was. Eventually you just grab the pan.
Oh, right. Oh yeah. Your hands gonna get calloused, and you lose sensitivity and
battle scars or whatever.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I got plenty.
Yeah, no, and you're right. I guess on your end, not going and then actually hiring people, you kind of see, the spectrum, the good, the bad. Well, that's so you open the Cannoli Joe's, and then what? Well, I mean, it's pretty cool that this Chef Brian,
Bob.
I'm sorry, he Hausman.
Hauser. Yeah.
Bob Hauser. I felt like I've heard of his name.
Yeah.
Is he still cooking here?
He actually just moved to Houston. He opened the first Cabo Bob's in Houston.
Okay.
As a franchisee.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What was he doing here before that? I definitely feel like I've heard
He was doing ops over at Cabo Bob's.
Okay.
He's not like directly related to the name or anything. It's not like named after him. That's it was an existing concept that he worked his way into. But no, he's doing great. That's a cool concept. I think it's going to do really well in Houston.
Yeah, it's good food.
Yeah,
definitely good food.
Solid. But yeah, so I was a kitchen manager with him for 3 years. The first 3 years of Cannoli Joe's, and then at that point, we had some turnover in terms of leadership. And so I got promoted to general manager. And then shortly thereafter, Bob decided to leave. So I was then general manager and executive chef for the next 3 years until we decided that, it wasn't working.
Yeah, the location.
The location, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then I was actually kind of instrumental. Again, you mentioned St. Philip's. We talked a little bit earlier before the show. Phillips.
Oh, okay.
Phillips Beer is a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And it was I think it was kind of that connection.
So you guys met there at that location?
No, I've known Philip since the mid '90s when I first moved to Austin. Back when we were just
it's that '90s hip hop we're looking at.
90s hip hop. It's kind of skater kids.
Yes, yeah.
So we had talked about that, and that's when the Uchi guys got interested in the real estate.
Yeah,
and they took over. So
interesting that it would be that kind of location where you guys had a problem with people getting there. And I guess they were like, well, with our name
I think
on it.
that again, I think that they did the smart thing. They broke it up, so it wasn't just one concept. That it's like that drives a little bit more traffic. It's like and kind of a little bit more recognition. I think.
Yeah, I know it's not there, and if anybody's not familiar with it, it's not that interesting. But what it was broken up, and what was St. Philip's, and then what were the other places? Were they Uchi?
No. There was actually, I remember, because I went in a couple times when they were still under construction, doing the remodel for St. Philip's, and the other spaces were empty.
Okay.
It wasn't until actually recently that the whole place was filled up.
Yeah. And do you know Michael Wake over there, the Funkadelic?
I don't.
Have you been?
I haven't. I've seen this stuff on social media, but I haven't been yet.
Yeah.
For
He's
the
been
brunch.
on here. He's
okay.
He's great.
Cool.
He's a very good guy. So so you knew. So what happened with St. Philip's? Did you have any hand in that or no?
No, not at all. I mean, they just I watched them and I've got
also good food.
Oh, it was really good food. I loved it. It was a surreal experience going back into the building just to try it out. Philip invited me to.
Yeah.
Well, it was funny. It's like at one point I went back into the office. He and I were just talking, and I remember taking a picture and just being like, "Wow, what deja vu of being in the same office that I spent so much time in."
Yeah.
But it's a total different vibe, and it was cool. It was very cool. I mean, that's evolution.
That also is an evolution, but it goes to show how quickly Austin changes.
Oh yeah,
because it's now a completely different spot.
Again, yeah. We actually went there to the Canny Rosso. My wife and I a couple weeks ago. Some family came in town and was like, "Oh, let's go get pizza."
How was it?
It was good. It's good. It's great. I like the one thing I like about that concept is the owner is like a big Star Wars junkie, and so there's all this random Star Wars
that's never
touches.
Did you notice this table?
I did. And I noticed. Yeah, you had some.
Should have them on
some other stuff. But yeah, even on the menu, some of the drinks are named after different Star Wars characters. Nothing comes to mind. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, the last thing I want to drink is the Wookiee drink.
Yeah,
right. Let me try that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so after the Canola Joe's closes up, where do you find yourself?
So that was an interesting space for a few years because we didn't really know what we were doing.
You're still with the company.
I was still with the company. The County Line guys were just like, "No, you're awesome. You did a good job." I think they recognized that we did everything we could. I mean, we were doing.
Can't change that location.
No, yeah. I mean, towards the end, one of the things that really came out of that was a catering program.
Okay.
We figured, what can we do to generate some sales, and we said, let's try catering. County Line had done catering in the 80s, and they had found it to not be worth their time. They're like, it's just a lot of work. It doesn't really pay what we want it to. It doesn't work the way for the model that we want.
Right.
And so with Canola Joe's, I was like, well, it's easier, I think, with pasta dishes and salads and bread and all that stuff. And so we really, myself and the other managers that were working with me, we worked on building this catering program, and I went back to County Line after we were done, and basically they're like, will you help us, flesh out a catering program for County Line? And I was like, sure. And basically at that point, I kind of just jumped in with anything and everything I could do to help with their ops.
Yeah.
We updated some of their scheduling software, all the back end stuff. We just kind of really started working on tightening up their systems because County Line, being around for 20 years, 25 years at that point, they're ready for an upgrade.
Sure.
And so we had the bandwidth to take it on, and we attacked it.
It's interesting that without culinary school, you kind of learn how to maneuver in a kitchen and work in the front and the back and at the county line, and then you make it over, and it's like your first class, an Italian class, and you kind of get that. And then now you have a catering class.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Exactly.
these are ways you learn. So how did you translate from not working catering to working with it? Was it just you kind of learned it and did it?
I mean, I think we literally, I mean, yeah, it was, just try it. Just try it, see what works. See what
Did you guys do stuff on site?
Yeah, we do all the prep. Well, we would not do too much prep, offsite, or we'd do a lot of it. Just would be in the kitchen, pack everything up, and then just take it and serve there with sternos or whatever.
Yeah, okay. That's what I was.
One of the other things I guess I didn't mention is also that was kind of when like Facebook started getting popular,
Okay.
Instagram, and so
So what? That's like you said. 08 was when Cannoli Joe's closed.
well, 2013.
2013.
So one of the other things I did to try to boost sales was I got us on Facebook.
Smart man. I don't know
Actually,
if people were thinking like that.
this is so long ago. We actually Cannoli Joe's had a MySpace page.
MySpace, yeah.
And so that was kind of my thing too. And it ended up-
Ancient folks here.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
We're old.
yeah, and so that also was something I was doing when I went back to County Line at the corporate office. Was I took over and I trained at each store. We had a social media manager.
Yeah.
And so I was like the social media director for the company for
Back then, huh?
about 6 years. Yeah.
Was that a thing yet?
I mean, enough so. I think it was getting enough attention that this was right when, non-traditional marketing was really taking off, I think. And people were really seeing the potential of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram for any and every business that there was. And basically it was like, I remember we went to this big conference with some of the owners from County Line, and basically the people talking were just like, if you're not on social media by the end of this year, you are going to go the way of the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
And that really, to them, they're just like, oh my gosh,
It's definitely like that today.
Oh no, for sure. Like I don't know how you could not, if you can't ignore it. I mean, the thing about social media is that you will be on social media whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's like, but as long as you have a presence that you can control, then you have an opportunity to kind of put your best foot forward.
Yeah, and I see. Yeah, whether you like it or not, your restaurant's name will make it onto social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people run their whole business without even having a website.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You can get on Instagram and put your menu up
that's it.
there.
Yeah,
put your hours up there.
Right. That's your website.
Put the special up there.
Exactly.
Get a table for 4 through the direct messages.
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Communicate. I mean, that's the way to do it. So.
But early adopter here. Very cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, I've always been kind of a tech nerd.
Okay.
Just kind of whatever.
Yeah,
into
the turntables too. Right?
Yeah, for sure. Doing the little DJ thing, but I think I was always like trying to figure out, how do I hack my MySpace page? What can I do to make this, what can I do to make my Instagram pictures get more likes? And it's like, oh, hashtags. It's like, oh, let's do this. It's like, oh, let's do that. And I think that was probably like 2013, 14, 15 is when we were kind of like, all right, we're working on all this other stuff. But County Line was still like, no, we want to do something different. Like we want to do something cool. And we played with a couple different ideas, concepts, and then we were approached by another guy from outside the company, somebody who had been with Witch for a while, and that was Kevin Warden. And he had the idea of doing a drive-through chicken place.
Yeah, and we arrive at Fly Right.
And we arrived.
This is where we crossed paths.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to this day, I love the concept of Fly Right.
Oh, Fly Right's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it was funny because it was such a blank canvas. It was just like, what do we, what he was like, oh, we were like, okay, well, what do you think? Like, what do you want to do? Like, what is this going to look like? I mean, even the name, like he didn't have the name, we all kind of came up with a name. I was working with a friend of mine who had been one of my managers at Cannoli Joe's.
Okay.
Dallas Miller, great guy.
Still okay.
Yeah,
cool.
and he's still at Fly Right. But he and I basically, as myself, Dallas, and Kevin, really just kind of put our heads together. County Line was basically just giving us support, resources, everything we needed. But it was really just up to us to kind of figure out, well, what is this going to be?
I had no idea that County Line was a part of that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I did not know that. And how did you come up with? I mean, tell me anything of the process.
I think it was a lot of like, we definitely had drinks and we talked about what would be cool.
I could see that now that
And then I think one of the things that we really hit on that's served us really well was like, man, if there was a place I could go through a drive-through, get my food, and get a beer.
Yeah, that's exactly what you say when you're having a drink.
Right? Oh man, I was just like, I would go there all the time.
Yeah,
I was like, it's like if Whataburger served beer, I would be there every day. I'd be 500 pounds, but whatever, it would be awesome.
Right.
But that was also when we started noticing. Like I started noticing, like we go to Home Slice, and they had that little Home Slice 2 offshoot, the one on Congress. And I was like, man, you can buy beer and you can walk out with it. I was like, how are they doing that? So Dallas and I went and looked and we talked to the guys. We're like, how are you? And it's like, oh, we have a special permit. Like anybody can get it. And I was like, what? And I was like, okay, we got to figure out how to do this.
And they were just open book with you guys, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'm like, that's the thing about the Austin restaurant scene.
Yes.
People are so willing to like, share and be involved and just to help. Like, oh, it's
amazing.
It's great. It's great. I love it.
The best example I can think of is when Via 313 and Home Slice collaborate. It's like
right. I think in the kind of old school mindset, it's like you would never work with a competitor like that.
It's competition,
and it's like
cutthroat.
But it's not. It's like there's the pie. The kind of the restaurant scene pie in Austin is so big.
Yeah,
it's like everybody gets a piece. It's like no, it's not going to hurt you. I mean, if anything, it's going to help you having those kinds of connections and being able to rely on and reach out to other people.
Yes,
when you have a question or a problem or whatever, it's huge.
I agree, and we had a chef from Reunion 19, Chef Christopher. You're familiar? They're going to open over there on the east side.
I haven't seen it.
You got to check it out. Reunion 19, any day now.
Okay.
But he's from LA originally, and he was saying it is similar out there, the culinary scene and the kind of the back scratching and but I'm from up north.
Okay.
And I don't think it's as prevalent up there.
No.
I don't know if it's everywhere.
I think I've only had one experience. I mean, I guess one that stands out in my memory enough that I was like, wow, this guy really doesn't want to help me. And it was
here
in Austin, and it was a silly thing. When we were working at Fly Right, we had just opened the Burnett location, and I needed to get we were selling growlers, and I needed to get a growler fill tube. So it's like basically a tube you put on the end of the tap so that when you're filling up your growler, you don't get a lot of foam.
Okay.
Pretty simple concept. I didn't research it too much, but I was like, oh, you know what? There's a place that does growlers like literally like a block away. I'm just going to go over there real quick and ask this guy like, hey, where'd you get that stuff? I walked in there and I was just like, hey, man, what's up? Just checking out your stuff. I was like, hey, where do you get these tubes that you fill the growlers? And he was like, he kind of was like, he's like, are you doing them at home or something? And I was like, no, I have a restaurant right down the street. We're doing growlers, and I was just curious if you can give me a tip. And he was like, what? And I was like, Fly Right. He was just like, I'm not going to tell you. He's like, why would I tell you? I was like, I don't know. Why would you not tell me? I don't know. And
I'm trying to think of where that would be in the close proximity. But,
yeah, I'm not going to drop it. But it was just like, I was just like, that's really? I was like, all right. I mean, and literally, a Google search later.
Yeah. And it sounds so unlike anything you ever hear.
I mean, maybe the guy's not from Texas. I don't know.
Yeah. But the like Toss and the Via 313 guys helped him,
Yeah.
And I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah,
it's just
for sure.
awesome. Like there's like a camaraderie, and it's great, right? And you're right. Everybody benefits from it.
Absolutely.
But you got the growler right.
Oh yeah. We got it figured out. We're good.
So Fly Right though is a little cross promotion there. I mean, the Fly Right is a very cool restaurant with a big triangle. What
we call it a wing.
Okay, the big wing.
Yeah.
So the big wing. But yeah, the food's great, and you helped design all the food in there. And
absolutely. So yeah, my role at Fly Right was director of culinary ops. So basically, from the very get go, developed the breading recipe, the cook times on the chicken.
It's the first time you did something like that.
Yeah.
So I like the way you think. I think because when I think of you, I associate the menu at Fly Right. That's what I think of. It down to the tater tots.
Down to the tater tots,
Yeah.
every single sauce, the buns, the fries, like every single aspect of anything that was food related, I was involved in. But then also I was doing, a bunch of the ops stuff, management training, just working with the team, doing a lot of leadership development, and just enjoying every bit of it.
Yeah. And I know it sounds simple, just a chicken sandwich, but and I know you guys come up with the concept for Fly Right over a couple drinks, want to do the drive-through. But where were you drawing inspiration from? Anywhere specifically when you were saying whatever it is, a brioche bun or the tater tots? I don't know if they're brioche buns, but
yeah,
whatever.
But I think so Kevin really had put some thought into this. He kind of his genesis of the Fly Right concept in general again was rudimentary, but it was at the same time as like he saw an opportunity in the business world. So that was his business sense was just like, oh man, that could be something that really works. Because if you think about it, there's no drive-through chicken place sandwich that's like boneless chicken out there except for the big name that everybody knows that's not open on Sundays.
Yeah, okay.
And that was the only.
There's no alcohol available there?
Oh no.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
They're way not cool enough to do that. So
Right.
But yeah, he was he had his Witch restaurants, and he was like watching. He always tells a story that he remembers being in his store. They had a couple people in there eating sandwiches, and then there was across the parking lot, a double drive-through, and it was just 20 cars deep on each lane.
Yeah.
And he was just like, "What is that?" He's like, "That's the business I need to be in."
Sure.
Which is super smart.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a market for that. Obviously,
Well, we need more Fly Rights around.
Yeah.
I love being on the east side. I love being down Burnett. It's always a treat.
Yeah. No, I'm super stoked with the success that everybody's having now.
Sure.
But yeah.
So very cool. So you kind of help do the operations, and you end up departing there. And what happened? Where'd you go?
So yeah, I think for me it was kind of more of a personal choice. I was kind of getting, I'm getting older now. Dallas, my partner,
we MySpaced it. We know.
Yeah. So I just said, I need to. It's not really doing what I wanted it to do, or what my own expectations of what I wanted it to do. And I said, I know a lot of people in town. Over the years, I made a lot of connections with other restaurant people. And I just kind of was like, just threw it out there. Just was like, hey, what does it look like not being attached to anything? And honestly, again, Philip was a great mentor to me in that respect, and just kind of be like, hey man, there's a ton out here.
So this is during the time, and this is an open book with Chef Philip, that he had cleaned up his act.
At this point, yeah, he had already cleaned up.
And he's talking to you, and you're getting some advice, basically.
Yeah, I said, hey man, what do you think? I mean, you know me, you know what I'm capable of. What the scene, like what kind of opportunities are out there? And he's like, dude, there's so much work in the restaurant business that like, he's like, there's things that come up I can't handle. He's like, I would, totally recommend you. He's like, I know you're solid. Your ops is solid. Your culinary is solid. Like,
yes.
And I was like, cool. All right. Well, let's just do it.
It's good when Chef Philip's got your back.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And then at that time I was talking to him, word got around to Brent, my partner at Pink Avocado, and he was just like, I have this idea. I have this opportunity. He's like, I didn't know if I was going to do it or not because I didn't know if I had the bandwidth to handle it. Mm-hmm. He's like, but if you would come in with me and do this, he's like, I want to do this. And that was the genesis of SouthBites.
Okay. How was that pitched to you, out of curiosity? What did you think when you first heard it?
I was kind of like, well, it sounds interesting. I mean, the idea was really more of a restaurant in the South by building versus the coffee shop. But they knew they wanted a coffee shop. They knew they wanted a restaurant. And initially, it was going to be us just doing the restaurant. But then they said, oh, well, would you guys be interested in doing a coffee shop? And I said, to me, because they're literally physically located right next to each other. I was like, it actually makes a lot of sense.
Sure.
If we're just doing both.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be sharing space anyways.
Right.
So I said, I'm not like I would never claim to be some kind of like, head barista by any means. But I was like, but I think we can put that together. And I was like, we just got to get the right people. I was like, let's do it. Let's get it going. And that was actually, they wanted to get that open fast. They wanted that to be open when the building opened. So that was kind of like our rush. It was like, get the coffee shop open. I was like,
How'd
okay.
you do working under pressure like that?
Oh, I guess for me, again, my experience has been running either multi-unit company, or a 12,000 foot, square foot restaurant.
So business as usual.
So I was like a coffee shop. I was like, okay, like no big deal. I mean, and it's been a challenge. It's been a great challenge in a lot of good ways. It's not like it's not what I expected. It's definitely I've learned a ton just since we opened, but no, it's fun.
Yeah,
it's a good time.
And the when you're feeling like from transitioning from Fly Right and like feeling a little bit maybe like you're looking at your life. I'm getting older. Maybe I want to make some changes. I mean, what do you think that is? What do you what do you want? What were you thinking? Were you thinking you were going to be complacent there and just kind of like fall into like that's what you did?
Nah, I mean, maybe it was a little bit of a midlife crisis, kind of like, like what am I doing with my life? Where am I going to be in 10 years? What does this mean?
And I mean, this city, the way it's changing, it's hard not to say, let me just move with it. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the other thing too, is like I saw all this other stuff going on in the city, in the scene, in the industry. And I was like, I want to play around with like all these different things. I want to, dip my hands in a little bit of everything. And I just want to learn. Like I want to watch, I want to be involved. And I think, Fly Right is a great concept, but it was taking a lot of my time. And it was like a lot of my focus. And I was like, I don't see how I can do this with having this full-time and beyond full-time job.
You have your family at home?
Just my wife.
Okay.
Just me and my wife.
No children?
No children. We decided to go no kids, so that's cool.
Oh, so that's a done deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to be we're the dinks, the double income, no kids.
Right.
It's pretty fun. We got some dogs that keep us happy. But yeah, I said, I just want to be involved in stuff. And the great thing is with the coffee shop, it's, putting everybody in place, getting Denise in there, getting the staff in there, getting everybody trained up. It really does lend itself to giving me a little bit more breathing room. I have been able to do other projects on the side, which has been super fun.
Okay. Care to share any?
Sure. Probably won't drop names, but just I did help open a concept in Cedar Park.
Okay. Can I drop names? No, I don't know. I've seen a few things go up there by the Sheridan over there.
Yeah. I think the one is, what's that main road? It's like Whitewater or whatever.
Oh yeah, what? Yeah, I don't know that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, it was another chicken concept I worked with. Helped them out. Doing some other stuff on the other side of the country. That's kind of neat. Doing some consulting with a group up in New Jersey.
Interesting.
Can't say too much about that because they haven't opened yet.
Sure, that's a first for you working out of Texas.
Yeah. That's been super fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
It's a lot of due time to work on other things.
And
it sounds like she's been a blessing in disguise, this barista.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Coming out with all her knowledge. I mean, because it wouldn't be the same thing.
Oh, no. Absolutely not. No. She really elevated it. I mean, if left up to me, it would have been really simple coffee and,
Cuvée.
Yeah, it would have been cuvée.
But hey.
Which is not bad.
It's great.
It's awesome. We love them. We still use them. But I think, it would have been a little bit one-dimensional if it had just been me. I'm just kind of, accounting for my own.
Yeah, no, I like how she flexed the coffee. And then it sounds like the food now has taken off with.
Yeah.
So Chef Brent's spending more time. What's he doing? Is he?
So he's still pretty much full time with Pink Avocado.
Yeah.
I mean he's involved. He and I talk every day. We talk about what's going on. What are we doing? We definitely.
He was talking about coming on here for a minute.
Oh,
I'm surprised.
I'll put a bug in his ear.
Yeah, put a bug in his ear. You didn't mention you were coming.
No, I haven't. I didn't tell him.
I was just gonna tell you guys to come together, but it's not always easy last second.
Well, right now they're gearing up for SouthBites, so they're going to be busy. I'm helping them a little bit with that.
Yeah,
just kind of like wherever they need it. I'll probably work some events and do some stuff.
South by Pink Avocado isn't. crazy nightmare.
Oh my gosh, they get so busy.
Yeah,
It is.
and not to mention that they basically shut down that part of town, it seems
Oh,
like.
yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know how people, I mean, it's hard.
It's wild. It's super fun. I got to work with them last year. We did a bunch of cool stuff. We did like the Australia house.
Okay.
They did they're just busy every day, and it's super fun. I'm totally honored to be able to work with them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it just more things that I get to see and be a part of.
Established in '08, those guys? Mm-hmm. Okay. Totally local.
Totally local.
Chef Brent. Very
Yeah.
cool.
But
So, and again, back to, it's giving you time to do things. And that's, I think, what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Getting out of Fly Right.
right, and just kind of again, just to be involved with other things. I mean, so the last thing I did that wasn't SouthBites was in the December. I was actually got hired by Forefront Networks to do Trail Lights.
Oh,
So kind of last minute, my name got thrown in because they needed somebody to operate their hot cocoa operations,
okay.
which sounds kind of simplistic, but the reality is we're doing like
How many people go through the Trail of Lights?
exactly we're doing like 3,000 cups of cocoa every night.
Yeah.
That was super fun.
Those aren't like elevated cups of cocoa, right? It's just like
It is pretty straightforward. It is
right,
pretty
styrofoam
much.
cup and
Yeah, I mean, not styrofoam. We did, we went a little bit upscale, but I mean, but not a lot. Yeah, the ingredients were pretty basic. It was really just about volume.
yes, I get that.
and managing. But that was super fun.
Yeah.
So working with those guys, probably gonna do it again next year. On the side, like every year for the last few years, I've also worked with ACL, but not food related. I do like work with their artist transpo division.
Okay.
So just kind of like anything. Again, anytime I take a job, I always look at it as like a learning opportunity.
It seems like that's been the case since the get-go.
Yeah, and I love it. I mean, I just soak it in, and I usually just like sit back, try to keep my mouth shut, and watch and observe.
Sure.
And then where I can help, I put everything I can into it.
Yeah. So there is one segment of this podcast, only one,
Okay.
and it's where do you go eat when you can?
Oh, cool. Well, I mean, when I can, Commodore is pretty amazing.
I was there earlier. We were talking.
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it. Now that I'm working downtown, I have parking, so I don't have to worry about parking. So I can literally just walk from my building down there, go to happy hour, get a drink, get some of those amazing bone marrow tacos,
Okay.
and just like hang out. And then I'll walk back and go drive home.
And here, I'm going to put this on here for the record, so we have to commit.
Okay.
The ad for Ben's Friends with Chef Philip, the music in the background is Q on turntables.
There we go. Yeah.
There we
Let's
go.
make it
So
happen.
We gotta do it.
We're gonna do it.
That's the way I hold myself accountable for
That's
things.
good,
I
right?
just
Right.
record it.
Put it out there on public.
Right.
That's great.
Okay, Commodore, excellent suggestion.
Yeah.
Where else?
I do love Laurel's Happy Hour.
Killer suggestions here.
Oh man, that place is. I mean, you can't go wrong. Aaron Franklin and Tyson Cole.
Have a baby.
Oh God, it's so good. Their drinks are great. The happy hour is just killer. The burger is amazing.
Yeah, good location too.
Great location. Plenty of parking. Trying to think where else. The wife and I like to usually. So my wife's vegetarian.
Oh,
So,
is she?
yeah. So those places she doesn't usually come with me.
Okay.
Although she's been to Commodore several times, but Laurel being a smokehouse is kind of like not her thing.
Yes.
But when she and I go out, we keep it very old school Austin. Guras Grill on Old Torf is like a favorite. Kirby Lane is always good.
Yeah.
It's solid food.
Sure. Simple, right?
We went to Sawyer and Company last week.
They were just on, yeah.
Yeah, just for dinner, just to get a great burger.
And it is, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I do like to try to, all the new places as much as I can. Whenever I'll usually give them like 2 or 3 weeks, month maybe, to let the kind of the hype die down. I know like Hestia is blowing up right now.
Yeah.
The Emerald and Rye guys. I just I'll try it out, but I just gotta wait.
Sure.
Kamari Tatsuya.
Yeah.
Killer.
I know, so good. Do they have vegan or vegetarian options over there?
I think there is some veggie options.
because
Lor-
it is killer food.
Yeah, they do have some options, and actually, my wife will eat some seafood, so
Okay, so
that makes it a little bit easier.
pescatarian.
Yeah, yeah,
That does make it easier.
yeah.
So does she? Curious about her. Well, like, is it she goes to vegan places or vegetarian places like the Beer Plant or
Yeah, we like Beer Plant. We went to
Last Straw? Just flipped their menu to a full vegan menu.
really.
Should go check it out. I know it's a
Oh.
bar,
Yeah,
but
like
Chef
bars.
Zach. I mean, I yeah, of course. Chef Zach is over there. He's been on here as well.
oh cool.
But I haven't been there to eat, but I trust Chef Zach.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, anything like any place that has vegan or vegetarian options. I'm like, yeah, let's go. And she's all about it.
Sure. Very cool. And then then you try. I would assume you would keep your finger on the pulse and try some of these places as they
Definitely.
open.
But I think, so now kind of, while my main gig definitely is SouthBites. I do have, availability as a consultant. And so I think it's super important for me to really stay up to date. What's going on? What are we doing? What's the vibe? What does the atmosphere look like? What does the marketing look like? What's the business model? Those are the kinds of things I think really kind of keep me interested.
Yeah.
And so when I see somebody doing something different, I'm like, oh, I got to check it out.
Yes.
I got to go see what they're doing,
Yeah. And the years that you've been doing this, is there anything, because you've been here for, forever.
25 years now. Yeah. Wow.
Right. Is there anything that you've seen that has just kind of blown the lid off things?
I think one of the things that's really cool to me, and I'm super impressed by, is the Nickel City.
Okay.
Nickel-
With the Via 313 folks?
with Brandon and Travis Tober. I think that's been a really, really neat marriage of like this kind of like down home, kind of divey bar. But man, I mean, everything, like the food and the drinks are on point, and it's so good. And it's like, that's definitely like when I'm, if I have a day where I don't have to go back to work or something, I'm going there for lunch.
Yeah.
I'm going to get me, some sliders, a coney, some wings, something, and then I'm going to have some drinks. And it's like, I'm probably not going to get home till, several hours later.
Well, that's like a hidden gem.
It really is. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I remember going in there before when it was Long Branch Inn, and it was, it was the dive bar feel for sure, but it was the dive bar, scene. It was, the beer wasn't particularly good. The drinks were definitely not good.
Right.
And it was just kind of blah. But no, those guys really did something special. And then like, I love their pop-ups. I love the marketing and the kind of the thought that goes into that. I'm a huge Simpsons fan. So like when they do their Simpsons, the Moe's Tavern kind of takeover, it's so cool to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, those folks are cool.
yeah.
There's no doubt about that. They were also on here.
Yeah, I saw that.
You got to give those guys a listen, and you should come back with. I mean, you've been around the block.
Yeah. And that's, I feel like I'm I wouldn't say like super tight, but I'm definitely buddies with Brandon. He's a good guy, and I try to again just talk to people, talk to the guys over at like Better Half.
Yeah.
Grady's was a super help to me when in the very beginning they're just kind of figuring out what is a coffee shop. How does that work?
Yeah.
Talking to those guys, and just again, it's all about those relationships and really just like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? It's like, I'm not going to do anything that's going to step on your toes,
Right.
but I just was curious. Like, can I just bounce some ideas off of you? And everybody's just amazingly helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, with the knowledge that you're acquiring over at SouthBites with the coffee,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in development right now for the space next door for the restaurant. And we're kind of playing, Brent and I are kind of going back and forth on ideas of what that's going to be exactly in the end. But it's going to have food. It's going to have a full bar. It's going to be a cool place to go when you're downtown and you want to sit out traffic, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's everyone.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, because
If you can. Right?
yeah, come 5 o'clock, it literally, well, if I'm trying to leave there at 5 o'clock, it's standstill traffic for sure.
Oh, it's gotten bad.
It's brutal.
That's the one downside. But I'm assuming in your position, the things that you do with yourself here in Austin to make a living, that you welcome the growth that we see.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even aside from the business prospects, I think, I've always kind of been, I lived in Austin when I was younger, moved to San Antonio, which is super urban. And I think that I'm just that urban dweller. Like, I think it's cool when you have this density of like, I can walk down the street and it's like, oh, there's a place I can pop in, grab a drink, grab something to eat.
Yeah.
Walk across the street, it's like, oh, there's another really cool place going on over here. It's like, there's art going on over here. There's music going on over here. It's like, I think that's awesome. I don't see how anybody, I mean, I get that maybe if somebody comes from a small town, they're like, oh, it's too much. It's like overwhelming. And I'm like, I don't think so. It keeps it lively.
It's Austin's the right size where you can get everywhere in a day, but you can also find these spots where you can get lost in the day, right? And you can just stroll down the street from place to place. The East Side is a great example.
Absolutely.
Of that. 6th Street, the East 6, where Kamiri Tatsuya is. It's just a ridiculous area. You can live over there and just be happy.
Yeah, I know so many people that are like, no. I mean, and it's funny too because I'm kind of like, depending on how I'm feeling, it's like sometimes I'm just like, I'm gonna stay south and I'm gonna find some place to go and have some good food and have a good, drink, whatever. It's gonna be fun.
Well, we've got big news on this Manchac.
Oh yeah,
or Menchaca, whatever they're calling it now.
Menchaca, yeah.
Yeah, I mean this area's.
Well, Valentina's is down here.
Valentina's.
I'm a huge fan of Valentina's.
I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. I must have, because I've definitely said this before. But I would love to have Aaron, Franklin, and Miguel.
Yeah,
it's like, of course I'd love Aaron in here or Miguel and his family.
Yeah,
but just the two of them in here to talk about the camaraderie.
Oh yeah,
to the support, because I think to me it's unique. The way the city supports it, they should be competitors, but no.
Why? I mean, there's plenty. Austin's got plenty of money.
But Valentina's is solid.
Valentina's is ridiculously solid. Like I mean, that's another thing too that I've enjoyed. Like having a little bit more free time. Like Wednesday,
4 p.m.
Yeah,
4 p.m. That's the time.
Yeah,
no line. Stroll right up.
Yep. Just walk in and be like, awesome. I'm gonna have some tacos. Super good brisket,
and the. Not to mention their taco, the actual tortillas.
Yeah, the tortillas
they're just ridiculous.
Yeah,
people don't realize that's really almost what makes it, because it's such a good tortilla.
Yeah, and
that's the San Antonio style.
It's
right?
Very much. I was gonna say it's San Antonio, South Texas, homemade flour tortillas. If you don't have them in your Mexican restaurant, you're not gonna make it. It's just not gonna happen. Austin is slowly starting to understand that, but yeah, no, I mean, it's a very different vibe. Like in San Antonio, if you go into a restaurant and they don't have homemade flour tortillas, you're like, no. Yeah. Like maybe I'll have a beer, but I'm leaving.
Sure. I got to ask, just because I love some of these folks. Have you been to Nixta?
No, I have not yet.
But
no.
Okay, but that sounds like
it's
you
on the
want
radar.
to.
Yeah, it's on the radar.
Somewhere else I'd suggest is Spread & Co.
Okay, yeah.
Have you seen those guys?
Yep,
Austin and Rosemary. Mm-hmm. Cool spot. I mean, they're about to get their beer and wine license, which will really make it come together, because it's all cheese and charcuterie and sandwiches and stuff like that. But
sweet.
I would check that out. What do you think? Anything we breezed over? We breezed over one thing. What are your dogs' names? What are they?
So I got Cruz, Cruz.
Okay.
Cruz. He's our big dog. He's like a 40-pound golden retriever mix. And then we just got our newest rescue. Her name is Rini.
Okay.
She's a little 7
She
pound.
came as named Rini?
No, she was found, so we don't know what.
Okay.
But she's probably about 7 or 8, but she was found out in the street.
Wow.
But I mean, I don't know how long she had been out there, but she wouldn't have made it. She's 7 pounds, itty bitty chihuahua.
Holy smokes.
But she's feisty, and she's funny, and she's just like the sweetest thing. We just got her in August of this past year.
Okay.
So
she's Cruz and her getting along?
Oh, yeah. That's funny you say that. They were doing great until last week. Had a little dust up.
Scuffle.
Little scuffle over a bone.
Oh, a bone. That'll do it every time.
Yeah. But aside from that, they're great. I'm sure they're at home right now on the couch chilling.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned you had the dogs because Finn, the mascot's here.
Yeah. He's awesome. I guess we didn't really talk about our relationship. You know, you and I, we've been knowing each other for at least 3 years now.
Yeah,
sad
time
to,
flies because
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like that.
Yeah, no, I've been watching your stuff. I think this podcast is super cool.
Oh, well, thank you. It's you guys. I always tell people, got to reiterate that.
Oh man,
If I were sitting here talking alone, it'd be pretty slim pickings for the
Yeah.
audience.
No, I mean I appreciate it. From when I first met you, you started coming by Fly Ride, doing our knife sharpening and stuff.
Yeah.
Solid service, and I just appreciate it. I'm glad that we were able to keep in touch.
Oh, yeah. Me too.
yeah.
Me too, man.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. And I've been a serious fan of Fly Ride.
cool.
Like, and I knew you designed the menu, and I've
Yeah.
always been like, that guy.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate it.
Want to keep the eyes on that guy.
Yeah, man, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere.
Well, definitely welcome to come back anytime you want. I say that, and I mean it. And there's been folks who've taken advantage of it. So,
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm definitely coming back. We got to do that. We got to do that music session.
oh yes, we're
Which will
doing
be-
that.
That's gonna happen. That's gonna be super fun.
There you go, Chef Philly.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
hope he enjoys that.
yeah. I know. I think it will. I know what he wants.
Yeah, we'll get a kick out of that. We could even collaborate with some other stuff because all the music is just stuff I'm throwing together.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
for no copyright stuff, right?
Yeah,
So
we'll
it's
make
all
it.
original.
We'll make it. We'll make it good.
Cool. Well, Q, thank you for coming. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it.
Jason,
Yeah,
thank you.
anytime.
Appreciate it.